We train a lot of affiliates. We go out and find a lot of people that haven't done affiliate before and then get them into the space, turn them onto a platform, kind of teach them how it works. And one of the biggest things that we spend time telling people is you have to give them the why.
Before we jump into today's episode, I have to talk to you about the biggest affiliate marketing event on the East Coast. That is Affiliate Summit East. It is going down in New York City at the Marriott Marquis, August 4th through the 5th. This is the event that you need to be at if you're an affiliate, if you're a publisher, if you're driving traffic, whatever it is. If you're in the affiliate space, this is the event that you need to be at. I will be there. We'll be bringing the Boost Show there, doing live interviews. You're going to meet so many incredible people. The next person that's going to help you to grow your business. And right now, listeners of the Boost Podcast can get a big discount of 15% off of your ticket. Just use the code BOOST15. That's BOOST15. I cannot wait to see you in New York at Affiliate Summit East. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Boost presented by Affiliate Summit, Grommet, and Giddy Up. I'm your host, Greg Rollett, and we are live on the showroom floor here at Affiliate Summit West. I'm in Vegas with someone who I've known, 10 years?
Yeah, 10
12 years. Wade Tonkin, Fanatics.
Yes, sir.
Man, been with Fanatics for, it seems like forever.
Just over 14 years in November.
That's insane. And so obviously ground floor, like Fanatics, when, we first were talking was here. Now you've taken over the globe, it seems like.
Global domination definitely in the cards. But yeah, it's been a crazy growth pattern. We went from being about $175 million a year company when I started there right when Michael Rubin bought the company with Just Like Commerce.
Yeah.
Now we're sitting around, I think, $5 billion. So it's
pretty good growth.
Pretty massive growth over the course of 14 years.
And what's crazy is you've been on the affiliate side this entire time.
Absolutely.
So what attracted you to that, and how has that changed for you over the past decade?
Sure thing. Well, I mean, I've been doing affiliate now for 26 years. I started in May of 99. So pretty much like just late first generation kind of OG with that. But I'm a sports guy and I have been all my life. So even when I was doing my agency thing, one of the things I always had my eye on was Fanatics. And I had some friends that had worked there in the past, and John Nunez had been the affiliate manager there, Jason Rybacki before he went off to Share Sale. And both those guys were like, dude, you gotta check out this opportunity.
Yeah.
This is like right up your alley. So I finally went down, interviewed, and I fell in love with what they were doing. I mean, it's like I get to work every day helping creators make money, talking about what they're passionate.
Talking about sports.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
That's so cool. How has affiliate changed in the sports world?
Yeah, and the crazy thing is that I think the sports world has always been amazing for affiliates and always been amazing for creators. And it's funny, we've been talking a lot with with our platform about how do we get started doing influencer, and it's like we've been doing influencer
since day one, before it was
years.
cool.
We didn't call it that. We just knew that like communities of sports fans were like super tight communities. If you found somebody that had influence in one of those communities, they could move product. And so we've been doing that for a long time. We've been going out and trying to find those guys who are talking about a team, talking about a player, talking about a league, and putting together partnerships that make sense for everybody. And, we've got hundreds of content creators now that are making money with us every month, in addition to, some big media players, because sports also translates really well into working with, big media partners. And we've been working with newspapers and, sites like that going back, 15, 16 years as well. So I think we were super early into that in terms of that kind of mass media, connection with affiliate that's really blown up the last 2 or 3 years.
So who's a good partner for Fanatics? You just rattled off a couple of them, but with sports, there are so many layers to it, right? Like there's the guy who just got the local Tampa Bay Rays podcasts, right? And then you got, the McAfees of the world, and then you have all these other pockets, and it transcends even beyond those guys. So who's a good partner for someone like Fanatics?
So we say all of the above, and like just last year, I found out that apparently sites that cover Taylor Swift's fashion choices can make amazing partners for Fanatics.
Which is great.
Yeah, but it can really be anybody who is passionate about sports, passionate about some aspect of sports, or passionate about creating content around shopping for people that are into sports. There's so many kind of permutations of connection to sports that you can play off of. What really matters is that the audience is engaged, that they care what they have to say, that they're authentic, they have a voice that people connect with. And that's one of the things that we coach people on all the time when we have new creators come on, because we train a lot of affiliates. We go out and find a lot of people that haven't done affiliate before, and then get them into the space, turn them onto a platform, kind of teach them how it works. And one of the biggest things that we spend time telling people is you have to give them the why. And so if you're a creator that's talking about your team, you have something you need to say, you have a unique way of saying it. And so if you come to me and say, hey, what should I say on my podcast? Well, that's not my job to tell you.
Yeah.
I can give you some bullet points, so I can give you some things you might want to cover, some ideas you might want to talk about. But in the end, your audience is into you because you're you.
Right.
And so just keep doing that. But find organic ways to work us into the conversation. And, one of the other things that we coach is, make sure to call people to action, give them the why. Hey, if you want to, support my content, one of the ways you can do that, next time you're shopping for WWE merchandise, click through my link.
Yeah.
And when you make that purchase, it'll help me a lot. And so you get that FTC disclosure, you get that call to action all at the same time, and everybody's happy.
I want to talk about the fact that you guys, just what you just said, is you're working with creators that haven't been in this space before. You're helping them to grow and learn that affiliate even exists.
Yep.
That's different than a lot of bigger brands that are just like, no, we only want the big fish, the people with millions of eyeballs, and are like, why do you think it's important for you guys to kind of be an introductory place for a lot of these creators that are out there? And maybe you don't necessarily always want to be. You still want the big fish too, but I feel like you guys do a really good job of helping the little guy to get going, because he could be the next big guy.
Well, looking back over the last 25 plus years in the business, I know a lot of big guys now who used to be little guys at some point.
Right.
And so there's always got to be a jumping off point. And in a lot of cases, even if we turn somebody down for a partnership when they're just getting started, if they come back to me with some ideas and they want to learn, we're more than happy to say, hey, let's give this a crack.
Yeah.
And, point them at some resources, help coach them through the early days, because, once they figure it out, it's going to pay off. We do work with a lot of the big publishers as well. We work with the standard coupons and cashbacks that a lot of people do.
Yeah.
We don't consider that to be the most important type of partner, though, because generally a little bit less incremental, not our favorite necessarily, but we find that the traffic that's coming in from the creators, from the media sites that we're working with, is really good, high value traffic, tends to be clean, not have a lot of other channel touches. So in the end, it's really, really solid, high value traffic, and makes sense for the program.
Yeah,
makes sense for the company.
Let's stay on the creator influencer side for a second. What makes a really great partner? Like, what makes someone be like, whoa, they're shooting up our leaderboard.
Yeah,
we're seeing them like have success, because it's not always just the most amount of eyeballs. That doesn't always mean success, right? Like, what?
Absolutely. Yeah, it doesn't. You don't have to have the biggest audience in the world, but you do have to have an audience that cares. And so an audience that buys into what you're doing, that, if you're somebody that creates content every day, they come back to you every day or multiple times a week. And an audience that is engaged enough with what you're doing that they're willing to help you out by, taking your call to action and shopping to support what you're doing.
Yeah.
Ideally, they would be somebody that can put together a good story around the product and that has a personal connection to it. We've had a lot of fun. We were talking about WWE earlier because we're both massive fans. And that one, we took that one over about almost 2 years ago now, brought it in, that was run by another agency. And once we signed that business, we went through and we cleaned that program out almost completely. We got rid of all the coupon cashback except for a couple, and then went in and started bringing on creators. WWE is crazy for creators because their fans are so passionate. They're so into it. And so we've got hundreds of TikTok creators that are creating like reaction videos and things like that are super, super engaged, super into it, create fun stuff, generate reactions, because you're going to love them, you're going to hate them, but you're going to have some kind of an opinion on it.
Right.
And the fun thing we've noticed about them is that when we get those guys approved, we have a little call to action in our welcome email that says, hey, once you post your first link, get back in touch and show, let's
Let us
do
know.
it.
Yeah.
And we'll take a look and give you some feedback. And those guys, man, you get them approved, and within minutes, they're back. Hey, just made my first post. It's not always the best,
but at least they're taking action.
but they're active.
Yeah.
But they're getting active, and with a lot of other types of publishers, you might never hear back. You might approve them and never hear from them again. But these guys are so jacked that within minutes they're coming back saying, "Hey, this is my first post. What do you think?" And then we coach them through it. We walk them through their posts. It's like, hey, maybe I might want to work some product into this. Maybe my call to action needs to be stronger. Maybe I need to disclose. Here's a couple ideas maybe you can talk about next time. But it gives you a really good jumping off point.
Yeah.
And like once they engage with you, it's really easy to to start working on optimizing.
How do you see, because your catalog is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not, a typical podcast read. All right. Hey, I'm talking about this one thing and go get this one thing. Here's my promo code or like whatever it is. With Fanatics, it's like, is it just go get the Baker Mayfield jersey? Or is it like, if you're a Bucks fan, you got to go to Fanatics? Like, how do you see them incorporating products?
It can be, you can take either approach, honestly. And I'm split. Sometimes if if they've got a product that's popping, if there's something that's like really high demand or that just released or something like that, yeah, wear the product, hold up the product, call it out. Maybe you build a deep link to that product and post it up in your show notes, something like that. But in the end, just at least get people back to the team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then there's also obviously drops, right?
Yep.
Like I know obviously with the Tops acquisition, like there's a lot there that's like, hey, we have the new Bowman release, or we have the new this, or we have the new that. And so those create moments,
Absolutely.
right, as well, instead of just go to the store and buy. It's like, hey, the new Top Series 1 drops tomorrow.
Yep.
Like, go get it from my link, support it. Like,
yeah.
So that has a whole different element to it as well.
And the whole Tops thing has been kind of a revelation because, I mean, I'm 52. I collected cards when I was a kid.
Yep.
Totally got away from it. Didn't know they were still really much of a thing. And then COVID comes along and everybody's got a lot of time on their hands. So you start breaking out the cards and the whole hobby explodes again.
Yeah.
We picked up Tops and we have like really cranked up the rate at which we're acquiring different rights. And so we picked up WWE now. We're doing Disney. I think we got NBA coming up where we're really kind of expanding the offering and opening up other leagues that we can get into to work with our partners. And we have developed a really rabid group of card creators. These guys are card breakers. They're people that just talk about it online. A lot of guys that are massive on Twitter. Got some guys on Discord and stuff like that. And you're finding different types of communities because it doesn't just have to be Facebook or Twitter or TikTok or whatever. It could be Discord chats. So any way that people can connect. If Reddit. I mean, there's all kinds of platforms that people are starting to monetize. Twitch.
Yeah.
And used to think about Twitch just being about streaming your gameplay, but people are using Twitch for everything. And so any type of community like that you can leverage to connect people, that gives you the chance to share out a link or share out a promo code is something you can really leverage. But man, on the the drops, that's a whole other deal.
Right.
And we actually we had to be a little creative around that because one thing that we were finding is that like the bot community, there's a lot of bot activity.
They'll come in and
they'll clean out your collection in like less than a minute. And so we had to build tools that made it possible for us to let people in on the drops because we want to have collectors get their hands on the product. We want to have you be able to get a box and open it up with your kid.
Yeah, you don't want Fanatics to become the place where every time I go there, there's no inventory. It's always sold out, or I'm not one of the cool kids, or whatever the case is.
Yeah, we don't want you to have to pay 3x for them on eBay or whatever because that's what was happening is people would snap them up and then next thing you know, they're paying 3 or 4x the face value on a secondary marketplace. So we really were all about the fan experience. We really wanted to set things up so that it gave the regular collector, the regular, dad with his kid or whatever, the chance to pick up, a set of cards that gave them at least a fair opportunity. And so, and then we had to integrate affiliate tracking into that because, we didn't want our partners to be driving in traffic that, then had like a lag because essentially we open it up for a day or two or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we go through, we vet all of the, submissions, and then we pick winners. And we didn't want to have a situation where our partners were sitting in traffic and they're not getting paid for it.
Yeah, that's really, again, you're learning some of these things on the fly as all this is growing and the business continues to grow. One other thing that interesting area I'd love your take on is we talk about influencers, creators, live shopping.
Yeah.
Right. So you have all of these, you talk about breaks.
Yeah.
Then you just also have live shopping. And like, how is that played a role, or have you seen some creators leveraging that on the Fanatic side?
Yeah, and it's one that I don't handle that directly. We have a different group that handles that, but we actually help get them plugged in to get the app out there. Yeah, out into the world because we had our partnership with Impact. We were able to get them set up to where they had like a per install kind of a situation to get the app out in front of people. But the people that are doing those breaks, another massively engaged audience. People are so into that. They're so into hey, who's going to get all the Mariners cards or whatever.
Right.
And I had never even heard of that.
It's wild. And then you like get entrenched in it and you're like, whoa, and just, you're seeing massive cards being pulled live.
And we've been doing some really fun stuff around our boxes. We're putting in random signed cards and collectibles, and we did the the rookie patch thing last year with MLB.
The Paul Gaines thing that just blew up virally. Like, it's wild.
Yeah, so we're really trying to kind of push the hobby forward.
Yeah.
And I mean, the good thing is that we have that background with Topps where they knew that card business, and then we're just kind of take it, add a little extra wrinkle to it, bring it into the 21st century, and find ways that we can kind of apply the rights that we have and the relationships that we have with leagues and players associations and all that to really take it to the next level.
So we talked a lot about influencer, creator. I want to talk about more publisher media side, like the bigger fish that are out there. What are some cool things that you guys are doing in that space? Because there are so many players that they're talking about sports. They have the sports section. There's these massive audiences out there. What are some cool things you're doing in that space?
Yeah, and one thing I would say is that like the scale of the opportunities out there working with media, like traditional media sites, just keeps blowing up and blowing up. And we were lucky enough to be able to get into that relatively early on because we were in sports, and every local newspaper, TV station, whatever, always covers sports. And so that was always one of those communities that we could tap into from the earliest days of doing what we do. The big evolution that we've seen over the last 5 or 6 years especially is that now pretty much all of the major publishing houses in the U.S. are fully invested in performance.
Right.
They've got performance teams. They've got usually like a director, VP, or better with multiple reports. We see quite a few of those networks that have multiple publications, multiple writers, multiple editors. They're integrating technology to allow them to scale up what they can write about and cover and handle the affiliate linking for. And those guys crush it. I mean, if like we've got Super Bowl coming up, this weekend, media publishers crush on that stuff because they're looked at as a news source. And so when they put out that article on, hey, the chief, X team won the Super Bowl, you can get your gear here, that gets picked up, and people automatically look to their local media, to get those stories and to find out where they can buy that product. And some of them are doing email, some of them are doing mobile app pushes and things like that. So it really gives them that opportunity to be that mechanism that connects the fans to what they want at that moment in time. And that's really what the game is all about.
Yeah.
And so, it's been a lot of fun watching that grow, because it used to be something that was very much kind of a one-off thing. The sales process was a pain because you had to go to a sales guy who was used to getting an IO, cash on the barrelhead for this spot. Then you start telling them, hey, so what's going to happen is when this game goes final at 11 o'clock at night on a Thursday, we want you to push out links, and we want you to do a social post, and we want you to drop an email, all within about 10 minutes. And they're like, we don't do that. And it's like, well, if you want to make this money, you're gonna. And I actually had a big newspaper up in Canada when the Raptors won their NBA championship. And I was in a meeting with my sales guy and his VP. And he's like, hey, we don't have anybody in at that time. And his VP is like, we're going to. If they say this is the way this works, then that's what we have to do.
Yeah.
And we've seen situations before where, our big media partners kind of held off on doing it. I had one when I first joined the company where the guy's team won the Super Bowl. We came in the next day and there was nothing from that partner. And so my VP was like, man, you need to get in touch and see what the heck's going on. So I called the guy. He's like, yeah, well, I left somebody else to do it. My team won when I had some beers. I'm like, it's a pretty expensive beers. Yeah. I mean, he probably cost yourself about 30 large. So let that be an expensive lesson. It's all about execution. It's all about timeliness. It's all about, riding that moment and, connecting the audience to what they're looking to buy.
How much do you think traditional publishers media understand that and understand moments? So I've talked with really great interview, Barrett from the New York Post. They do this a lot on the celebrity driven side. Taylor Swift was at the Chiefs game and she wore this outfit, and obviously they're all skim links, affiliate links, whatever it is. So whatever she wore, I got to imagine it's something similar on your side, but like, are more publishers starting to understand moments and how to capitalize on it from a revenue standpoint?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, those like really time limited or, time specific moments are huge, because like the audience is turned on for a reason and they're looking to do something in that moment. And if you are the one that puts that in front of them, shows them that product, gives them a way to buy it, they're going to take advantage. And, like I said, I never thought in a million years I would be recruiting Taylor Swift content sites and creators in the Fanatics program.
Yeah.
But we did.
Right.
Because we found out that when they posted what she was wearing and she was showing up at games wearing that, we sold a lot of that. And, the first week she showed up wearing some Chiefs merch, I'm pretty sure that it wasn't a planned thing, because the jacket she wore was one that we had like 60 of in our entire collection. We had to scramble to get that. And so it was people thought it was a really big moment, and it was big in terms of attention, but it wasn't big in terms of sales. But then at that point, smart brands are going to take it to the next level, and they're going to start reaching out to that celebrity and saying, hey, here's some products. If you're thinking of going to the game next week, here's some possibilities you might want to consider. And so we did some of that. Aaron Andrews, who's has partnered with us, did that as well. Gave us some options, and then we started to see kind of the more desirable stuff showing up that we had inventory in. And the cool thing is that we were seeing sales that were going beyond just like the Chiefs merch that she was wearing, but that model for other teams was starting to pop. And then we've seen similar things happen with like Patrick Mahomes' wife. She'll show up wearing a game day couture or whatever, and that'll pop. We were seeing like LTK activate really hard because those influencers would see a celebrity wearing X design or the off season. It's not from a Christian usage, but it's a lot of fun to see that stuff going, to see that pop culture sports connection going down because it takes it to a higher level.
It does.
It crosses a lot of borders. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting out of that whole Chiefs run last year was that there was so much more attention from women and girls on those games because of that. And the NFL calculated that like the media value of that was massive. They couldn't have paid for that, but they had all that extra attention because of that connection, with Taylor. So it was really interesting watching it play out. It was really interesting helping affiliates, cash in on that. And that's really what makes our jobs fun, is seeing those creators that are just doing something because they love it, being able to make some meaningful money. And, some people it's just a few bucks. I mean, we were talking about the baseball, baseball player, college player earlier, making a few bucks, promoting some sunglasses and stuff like that. But, sometimes it's a few bucks and some free gear. Sometimes it's a couple thousand.
Which could be a big deal.
Yeah, and years ago we saw it was a pretty good size like recruiting site around Clemson University. They came on with us over the course of 2 or 3 years, and we started to see them catch some major traction. And then Clemson won their first national championship, and those guys banked hard.
I'm sure.
I mean, I think it was I think over $50,000 in commissions. And it was one of the most fun conversations I've ever had as an affiliate.
I'm sure. Like that. I mean, that's real money for guys like that.
Yeah, and going into the game, and this guy, he's got a pretty major league operation going on. He had a team of 7 guys that write his content.
Yeah.
And we got to the day before the game, and this guy calls me up out of the blue, and he's like, "Okay, wait, a couple things I need." I'm like, "Okay, what do you got?" He's like, "I need my creative kit and all that." I'm like, "Yeah, it's on the way."
Yeah.
He's like, "I need a challenge." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I want a number. I'm competitive. I want to be the biggest." And so I told him, it's like, well, a couple of years ago, Ohio State, this creator for Ohio State did X in sales. He's like, "I'll have that beat by tomorrow at 1 if we win." I'm like, give you credit for having balls. I mean, I like
awesome. Yeah.
I mean,
you want more partners like that.
Go big or go home. And so he ended up doubling what he said he was due by that next day at 2. And he just kept going. And at the end of the first month, we sat down, had a little postmortem, and he's like, "So you'd say we killed it, right?" I'm like, "Safe? Yeah, you killed it." And he's like, "I want to take care of my team." I said, "What do you want?" It's like, "Well, those Cutter and Buck quarter zips are looking pretty tight. Check out my P card.
I can make something.
Send it to him."
Yeah.
I told my VP what I did, and she's like, "If he wants anything else, let me know. I'll put it on mine." But it was a massive win for them. And
totally.
That's a
massive win for everybody, right? It's a win-win-win, right?
Yeah.
And I love that. Let's end this with talking about things that are still getting you excited in this space. So we were talking off camera before we got started. NIL, right? Like huge opportunity for you guys now to partner with athletes, with college athletes, and in more moments like that. But there's what else is like exciting for you and has you excited for what you're doing still in this space? 14 years later.
Yeah, I mean, I think the technology continues to improve. I mean, we're getting ready to roll some stuff out there that's very cool. For a company our size to be getting into. We're working on some customer referral stuff that I think is going to be pretty interesting. Also working on getting a branded portal set up with Impact, kind of a white labeled solution for our creators that I think is going to be amazing because it's really going to be product focused. Because I think one of the weaknesses that the affiliate networks have all had is that their tools for creators have been less than amazing, especially when it comes to product. Because when you have a feed like ours, that 500,000 products or whatever. For somebody that doesn't really know the tools to be able to go in and find the right product or have the right tools to display that product, I think it's asking them to kind of fight an uphill battle. But I think that the platforms are trying to do a better job of coming out with better tools for that. We're really excited to see that play out, and super excited on the NIL thing as well. Like you mentioned, I think there's a lot of athletes out there that are going to be finding ways they can pull in a little bit more money. And it's not necessarily about those big guys, the ones that are making the big checks.
Yeah.
It's about those middle tier and smaller ones. And when we've run some tests in the past, we were surprised that some of the best guys that we had were like mid-level wrestlers.
Yeah. That are just great at creating content.
They were great at
interesting. There's intrigue. Yeah.
And they were good at engaging their families and friends and things like that, to the point where they might not have the big following that some of the other ones did, but people actually did what they asked them to do.
Yeah, which is super important. Yeah. Love it. Someone watching this right now, they're like, man, I want to get involved either on the publisher side or a creator side. How can they learn more about what you guys are up to?
You can hit us at Fanatics Affiliates on the most of the platforms. You can also just hit fanatics.com, click the affiliate program link. You can find us in Impact, and we'll take it from there. Super easy. All that will be in the show notes. Super fun conversation. If you learned something from Wade, make sure that you tag him somewhere and say thank you for jumping on this episode. Leave a comment. Man, this was so much fun. Thanks for doing it, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.